I am Slick Nick, your certified Enneagram coach. I love talking about Enneagram personalities. It's a big part of this channel. It's a big part of my identity. I'm very passionate about it. So, got to talk about M&Ms. Oh yes. Please know that what you're looking at is not going to be around that much longer. This is, of course, the outdated green M&M with the boots. So, I believe it was Saturday Night Live update that I learned that M&M is rebranding their characters to be more relevant, of course, specifically with a younger generation. So, I'm imagining that part of this has to do with the Me Too movement. So they're making the green M&M less sexy. But specifically, they're making the orange M&M more aware of his anxiety, and he's gonna start embracing his anxiety. I mean, I'm not making this up. You can Google it. I have, actually. I've Googled it, I've looked into it, and I want to tell my thoughts on it. Opening thought, I get it, it's just marketing. It's not gonna make me eat more M&Ms because they're, you know, having a character embracing his anxiety as his identity. Now, I think it's cool, but I just want to separate. Like, I think it's cool versus it doesn't mean I'm going to eat M&Ms. In fact, as a person who has mild anxiety, as I've recently come to terms with, sugar actually triggers it for me. So I'm keto, I do intermittent fasting, I only eat during a certain window every day. That helps my anxiety to not be triggered. But sugar and even artificial sweeteners trigger anxiety for me. So I'm definitely not gonna eat M&Ms because of this, but I am gonna say I respect the company for doing what they're doing. I think it's interesting. We're at a place now in American culture specifically where it's not quite taboo anymore to admit that you have anxiety. In fact, there's almost a celebration of it to say, yeah, hey, 30% of adult Americans experience anxiety. Again, mine's mild. Mine's very mild compared to most people. But I definitely have it. And I've definitely been living with this basically my whole life. So I think it's pretty cool that this orange M&M in advertisements we're going to see, that he ultimately is going to embrace his anxiety. And I want to talk about that, what that means for me as a 40-year-old man dealing with that. So orange M&M, that's the whole thing about the M&Ms is that, oh, you know, we're about to get eaten by people, oh, watch out. So they've got a reason to be anxious. But I think it is a fair reflection of the human experience. We don't know how long we're going to live. We don't know if we're going to be physically harmed. We don't know what's going to happen. And what can you do to bring down those anxious thoughts, whatever they are for you specifically? So I definitely think that's interesting. I think, you know, especially too since the pandemic, that's made people more aware and in touch with their anxiety. Also, obviously, this isn't helping anybody. You know, scrolling their phones, looking at social media, fear of missing out, even the notifications going off, and oh, that's just one more thing I got to keep up with. You know, that's why I don't scroll social media anymore. I post on it because I'm a content creator, but I don't find out what other people are doing. So, you know, because that's a trigger for an anxiety. You know, for me, and I can say this, I'm only a couple months into even understanding that, oh, it's anxiety that I have? That's what this thing is? Because I knew I didn't have depression. I knew that wasn't what it was for me. But you can look back on my channel a couple years ago, I started talking about what I called an existential crisis, is what I called it. Because I was at a point in my life where everything was coming together. I didn't have young kids anymore, not taking care of babies waking me up in the middle of the night. My salary doubled. We moved into a nicer neighborhood. We're able to pay cash for new cars. Like, wow, life is easy. And then suddenly I kind of started freaking out and didn't know how to act. I thought it was an existential crisis, which we could say that, or a midlife crisis, but ultimately it was a matter of, if I don't have to focus on all these other daily distractions, now I have more time and space to worry about, you know, the universe. That's pretty freaky itself, how huge the universe is and how small we are. Like, that's pretty freaky. So there you go. Let's talk more about anxiety, because about a third of us encounter it. And I'm going to be talking about it more. Your comments belong right here.